Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm here with Joseph Delacruz, who's much better known as FobMobJoJoo. He's just released his debut album, Sucka for Love, and I can't wait to hear all about it. Joe, thank you so much for being here today. How are you
Oh yeah,
doing?
thanks for having me. I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. What's going on in your life? Where are you at right now?
Right now, we just dropped the Sucker for Love. We're working on visuals. We're trying to get the shows going, but COVID season and all that, so it's a little postponed right now. So
I
right
feel
now we're
yeah.
just working on visuals, other ideas for the Sucker for Love album, and I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty stoked.
Awesome. So obviously the first thing I want to ask about is your music, but I will get to that. First
Okay.
thing I'm really going to need to know is the origin story on your stage name. Would you mind sort of breaking that down and explain to me how you came up with that?
Yeah. So a little backstory on the fob part. It's always been used as kind of like a derogatory term. I'm part Filipino. My
Hmm.
grandfather actually, when he came to California from the Philippines, he was often called that. Basically, fresh off the boat is what that means.
Gotcha.
So what I did was I kind of used that and flipped the narrative on it, and then I added the mob behind it because a lot of good friends of mine are part Filipino or
Hmm.
from other cultures and backgrounds and stuff like that. So I kind of want to flip the narrative and just rock with that, if that makes sense.
I love
So
that. So Fob Bob Jojo. Jojo's
yeah.
your name. Hell yeah, it all makes sense now. It's all coming together. Thank you
Right.
for clearing that up. Okay, on to the important stuff now. I'm loving the record. First thing I want to know about here is how you chose the direction of its sound. It's like so perfectly on the line of hip hop and R&B, and not necessarily too much one or the other, but like the blending that you've done here is pretty great. How did you
Oh,
choose to
thank you.
go about that way?
So originally, like when I decided to make the album, it was more of a story of self-love, and I'm a sucker for love. That's already been known.
So
Um,
the album name says.
right. But the whole point of the story was to figure out if I needed love from the woman in my life
Hmm.
or self-love. So I was
Sure.
trying to basically tell a story about that. So what I do is a little bit unorthodox. I kind of make the track list first, and then I cycle through all the beats from all the producers I get the opportunity to work with.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is one of the main reasons why the beats fit so well is because I was going for a direction in each track and trying to figure out what story I was going to write to that actual song, and then I picked the beat later to match it.
Okay, so when you came up with it, you came up with like song names first and then built
Yeah.
off of that.
So basically, I had the story in my mind
That's
of
I've never heard of that. That's
right.
awesome.
So this one was a really unorthodox for me, even, and I feel like just it fit so perfectly with what I was going for that I
Sure.
had to do it that I almost had to do it that way instead of just a traditional hear the beats right to it, think of the name later type of deal.
That's
So
I've never made music in my life, but it's the so like opposite way that I'd go about it. That's really
right.
cool that you're able to make it work.
And that's what
So
was so
yeah.
that was what was so important, and I had to put this out almost immediately is because it fit so perfectly. It was like, the grace of God.
Hmm.
So
So from start to finish, is it one sort of cohesive story, or do you jump around from place to place?
I feel like I jump around a little bit.
Hmm.
It's mainly about like, the first couple tracks is me trying to persuade the woman, um, you know, take me back. I
Yeah.
really do love you type of
Hmm.
deal. And then, as we go on, when we hit yin and yang, the interlude, it's when I realized that, hey, I need to love myself a little bit more before I continue.
I get that. That's a really cool way of going about it. I'll have to remember that for sure. So I want to talk about the production on the record as well. It sounds great. You've got plenty of going on. Who helped you work on this?
So I'm actually under Emotion Entertainment, and I know you did the
Oh,
interview with
nice.
Brian.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah, so
awesome.
that
Okay, cool.
yeah, so that's my team. So I worked with pretty much the same producers, and they are wonderful people.
So that's why it turned out so good.
Right.
That
So
makes
like
sense.
Mason Phelan, Drew the Alchemist, Ricardo Esteban, pretty
Uh-huh.
much the same people, same production, but they cater to my needs on this one. So that was wonderful.
Are you also in like the Seattle area?
I'm actually in Olympia,
Oh, cool.
so a little bit south of Seattle, but I do
Still
venture out
within
there
the
all the time.
realm. That makes
Right.
sense. Did they help you out with the album cover as well?
That was actually shot by our good friend Mike B Films. We just had a photo shoot and went for the kind of eerie type of cover there.
Okay,
So
I get that. Yeah, because I was gonna say, it's definitely maybe I think it's Grand Theft Auto themed, but was
yeah,
that yeah, okay. I mean, I love that. I love that because who doesn't love that game? But the
right,
way that it turned out, how it's not just a complete copy of it is really cool how you made it work.
right.
That's really awesome, man. So, considering that this is your first official release, I suppose, I don't want to look too far into the future, but do you have any idea on what's going to come next?
Yeah, I'm actually working on a sophomore album right now.
Never
I'm not
stop.
gonna I'm not gonna leak
Yeah, of
so
course
much as the
not.
name or anything, but I'm really excited about this one. Brian and I actually do live in the studio, so that's that's all I'm saying on that one.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, you don't have to get too much into it, but is it going to be sort of along the same lines in terms of structure, or are you going to be looking to experiment a little bit?
I think I'm going to experiment a lot. That's what I try to do in everything that I put out is just
Okay.
grow as an artist.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, yeah. You definitely don't want to sort of pigeonhole yourself into one,
Right.
type
Because
of
then
music.
if I'm in that realm of the first album, the second and third one, they're going to be expecting that, but I kind of want them to, you know,
Totally.
actually listen in.
Right. But what I think that you did really great on this album is that it isn't one genre. So even if you wanted to go full R&B or full hip hop, for example, like you would be able to do that and it wouldn't be totally out of left field. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Thank
that's
you. I
pretty
appreciate
great.
that.
Yeah, of course, of course. So I want to know, like, how do you work on songs? Do they come one at a time? Do you work on a batch of them at a time? How does it really work for you as an artist?
For me, I like to, when I hear the beat, I would write to as many as I can. If I
Mhm.
get a pack from somebody, I would like to cycle through all of them, see what, sounds sonically pleasing to me,
Sure.
and then start writing. I do rough drafts actually at my place. So I
Okay.
hop on my own mic. I do a rough draft, see how I like the placement of, you know, each lyric, and then I'll take it up to Seattle somewhere, wherever I'm recording that day, and I'll just try to bust out as many as I can.
Okay. So the beat comes first and then the lyrics, or is it the other way around?
It would be the beat first for me.
Okay.
Sometimes though, what I've realized and what I practice a lot is that I could actually start writing and then just fit my verse onto any beat. I've
Hmm.
I've practiced that a lot because I always want to be prepared. Even if I get thrown a beat, I'll be able to just put my lyrics on there,
That's really cool.
make it sound good.
Of course. Well, it has to have your sound to it,
Right.
And that's kind of what you're working on. Like as a newer artist and starting your own thing, like it does give you that chance to experiment and kind of do your own thing and do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Nice. So let's hear some of your inspirations. Who got you into music and who do you look up to as an artist?
Yeah. So how I got into music was actually my dad and my uncles back in their day. Early 2000s, late 90s. They were
Mhm.
actually recording music. Um,
Really?
they even had like the turntables, everything in this one room. And I just remember being a little kid and always wanting to mess with it. I scratched my dad's record, like one of his favorite records, because I just wanted to, turn the disc.
Of course.
But yeah, they got me into it. Every time they do karaoke night, I get on the mic and I wouldn't say any words, but I would just make it sound like I was rapping. And then I got older, very West Coast influence. So Pac, Dre, Snoop, DJ Quik,
Of
along
course.
those lines. I love that. The storytelling, like Slick Rick, Big Pun, even.
Mhm.
There's just so many people that I look up to, and I don't try to like copy their sound, but I try to,
Of course.
dibble and dabble a little bit with each and every one. So,
I think that's the best way to go about it, because like a
right,
copy, they each of those people have such distinct sounds. Like you would know it's a complete ripoff, but it's
right.
not. It's not that case right now. Was there a specific album that you listened to or that kind of came into your life at a special time that led you to take this path as a, as a musician?
Um, any of these on the wall, actually, I collect albums that really mean a lot to me. And then,
Same.
some cool visual ones, like the Chunky A one is one of my favorite ones. It's just
Mhm.
funny to look at. Like El DeBar's, DJ Quik. I think that DJ Quik is actually one of my favorite albums.
Awesome.
Just because as a producer, his sounds are so unique and his tracks are so unique. There's literally like 3 tracks or more that are just instrumental on his album, and that's
Mhm.
just amazing to me. Just the ear for it all. That one really got me into actually wanting to make music.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it shows off each person's production style.
Right.
Yeah. And I also have to commend you on your background because I have the same thing. I had it up. I had like a whole wall full of things, and then I moved. I had to take it down, but I still
Right.
have all the brackets ready to put back up. I think it's because it shows you off as a person. It shows what you're into. A room is so
Exactly.
personal that anytime anyone walks in, they're going to see, oh, this is what this person is about right here.
Yeah, that's what he listens to. That's what he,
It's really
tries to
cool.
emulate. So,
Plus, it's cheap art that you can collect
right.
and use.
Exactly.
That too. So, it's sort of the grand scheme of things, not necessarily on this album, but I guess, your career as an artist. What are you looking to accomplish with your music?
Um, you know, I do tell everybody that with my music, I do make it for myself because
Good.
I like listening to my own stuff, whether the next person does or not. And all the supporters that I do have now, I've made naturally,
Mhm.
organically.
Sure.
I'd like to say that you don't necessarily have to go to a certain style because it's out and popping and doing numbers and stuff like that. I'd say just reach one, teach one mindset. If somebody gets something from my music, I would love for them to turn their passion into something greater. Take it from my music to do something for themselves.
I like that a lot. This is a very similar question, but I'd sort of like you to expand on it a bit. When someone listens to your music, what sort of message do you want it to come off? Like, what do you think that your music says about you as a person?
um so when I do make music, I would like them to take away from that with like, well, especially this last album, the Sucker for
Mhm.
Love album. It's more about like heartbreak, triumph, digging into yourself and then making the change. So just the same as like take away from the music as you will, but I want you to kind of think and use your brain a little bit. That's
I
what being a
get that.
conscious creator is kind of all about, is just, giving them
Totally.
their organic and letting them run with it, challenge them a little bit.
I get that. Yeah. Your type of music, or I guess at least hip hop in general, like it's not always repeating in its lyrics. Like it challenges the listener to really focus in and hear what you're saying and
Right.
unpack the stories that you're trying to tell. I think that a lot of people listen to music for like, oh, I just want a good loud beat and like a bumping bass. But like when it comes to lyrics that are personal, like yours,
Right.
I think it's a whole different story of like actually trying to pay attention and get the point across.
And I try to do
So
it as relatable as I could as well, just so
totally.
people can be like, hey, I got that same feeling. I'm not
Right.
alone.
Yeah. Not to be cheesy, but we're all suckers for love at some point.
Right.
So it makes sense. So what do you enjoy the most about being a creative in general?
I just love art. Like anytime I
Hmm.
hear even the slightest instrument, I always, turn my head really quick and just see what the sound is. I feel like it's very important to express yourself, not to bottle anything up. And that's what I had to learn and what I went through in order to bring Sucker for Love, is because I bottled all those emotions, and now I'm finally able to tell a story about it and
Mhm.
things that I've experienced and been through. So that's what
Do
I
you,
love about
do you
creating.
feel lighter that like you've like, because I have to feel like putting out lyrics and telling your story and like wrapping it up into one big album and putting it out is like, first off, it's a huge experience, but also like it's your stories. Like anyone that knows you and is listening is like, this is this guy. Like, do you feel lighter as a person?
Oh yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
like when I said I was bottling everything up, I finally
Yeah.
released it, had that big sigh of relief. Even the other day, I think we're at a family barbecue, and my uncle actually hugged me, and he was like, "You okay?" Just asking me on the side, like, "You good?" Because anything I release
Yeah,
on,
man.
especially "Sucker for Love," but I also, drop songs on SoundCloud from time to time, and
Sure.
he was like, "You good?" Like, you made it. You're finally good.
You know what?
So
It's nice to have someone like that to check up on you.
right.
That's really great, actually. All right, so more on the fun side of things. If you had to pick a dream collaborator to either produce for you, feature on a verse, basically use someone in any capacity, which one person would that be?
Oh, is that a dead or alive question, or is that just
Yeah,
now?
yeah, let's go dead or alive.
I would probably say Tupac, and not to be cliche or anything like that, but I feel
Nothing
like
cliche about that.
his, I grew up listening to all of his music, even the
Mhm.
early days stuff before Death Row. And I think him as a storyteller, and where I'm trying to be as a storyteller, that the correlation is there. I feel like it would just flow so naturally. And,
Mhm.
I'd be excited to work with Pac because he has a brilliant mind and a great work ethic. So
Well, where would you utilize him the most? Because I don't know. I mean, like obviously I've listened to him, but was he more on the production side? I know he's obviously super lyrical, but like where
um i
where would you fit him in?
i feel like he's just an amazing storyteller. It's a lot deeper. I think he was into the conscious creator before that was
Yeah.
even a term, really,
Oh, 100%.
like actually used. But just the song Brenda's Got a Baby, even just to bring that certain song
Hmm.
up, like that was so much deeper than everybody thought at the time. So
Right.
I feel like just storyteller would be one of the many hats that he wore. But I feel like the production in that era was probably more done by Dre and all the people that
Probably.
he was surrounded.
Yeah,
I feel like he was just a great rapper.
I agree. Okay, so more on the sort of hypothetical side. There are no wrong answers here, and you can feel free to get in depth as possible.
Okay.
If you had to plan out a 5-year plan for yourself as an artist, how would that go? What would you plan?
Even now, I feel like in the next 5 years, I would like to release as much music as I possibly can.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't rush any of the big albums that I drop, but I would, try to get as many songs out, because being in a team that starts from the ground up and we're not co-signed by anybody or anything like that,
Sure.
I feel like we almost have to keep up with the work. Like we have to work, get seen, get noticed,
Hmm.
do as many shows, be very active with all the supporters on social media, stuff like that. Kind of just get my name bigger and bigger and bigger until, I have a lot more supporters than I do now.
Totally. So it's just an ongoing process, it sounds like.
Right. I don't think I would even limit myself to that 5 years. I feel like as long as I have the passion for it, I want to keep on going.
Right. And so with sort of the collective of artists that you're working with, are they working on your stuff and you working on their stuff, or is it, do you sort of work by yourself?
So what we try to do is have our own ideas.
Hmm.
Nobody's telling each other, what to do, or we kind of have that creative freedom,
Okay.
if that makes sense. And it's a true blessing to work with all these intelligent artists, because they can even give me like a sneak preview of something, and I'm like, wow, that's inspiration
Yeah,
right there just in its own. So
I get that. That's really cool that you have sort of that backbone of people that you can, you know, bounce ideas off of and send
right.
demos to and this and that. There's so many just like, so-called bedroom artists that are kind of just like in the corner of their room doing their thing and like get no feedback, but you're in this
Right.
great situation to where you have a whole like support system basically.
And just to elaborate a little bit, like, I love the relationship that we all have, and we're all, excuse me, so comfortable with each other
Yeah.
that if I were to start writing a song and I play it for them, and if it's not good, they're going to tell me it's not good. If they tell
You
me
know
it's
what?
amazing,
Yeah.
I know that I have one. So
Absolutely. There's no better friend than an honest friend that's
right.
not going to sugarcoat it and just be like, hey, listen, man, like this sucks.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Exactly.
Yeah, and you might be upset at them, but at least like you'll have more eyes on it.
Right.
Totally. So, what are some goals that you've set for yourself specifically for the rest of this year?
The rest of this year, I actually plan to start on my sophomore album. I've already started a little bit,
Nice.
just the process of everything. I hope to get that done all the way before the end of this year, and I just want to vault it for a minute and
Hmm.
just, whenever I decide let it out, I let it out.
Are you working on a specific release schedule, or is it just like I'm gonna work on it when I get the inspiration to do so?
Um, I feel like I would like to do a schedule like that.
Yeah.
And just I guess the theme or the story that I'm going for, when I think the right time for it to come out comes, then I'm gonna drop it. But I don't really do a schedule for releases.
That's cool. I wouldn't either. I think that there shouldn't be a rush because if you put a
Right.
date on something and it's not finished, then you might put out bad work.
Or people get excited about it, then you'll be known as the flaky artist.
Oh,
It's
plenty
just
of
not.
flaky artists out there who promise
Right.
things. I'm not gonna name names, but you know who you are.
Right.
So Joe, I've only got a couple more questions for you, but I want to know, there's been a ton of incredible releases from artists all over the world this year so far. What have you been listening to in your free time?
So I listen to a lot of old school. As far as artists now,
Mhm.
um, I do love Brent Faiyaz. I love Blast. Blast has been an artist that I've been listening to for quite a while, since the early stuff.
Sure.
I feel like he's finally taken off, and I really like that for him. I've always been like a big Chris Brown fan, Kehlani, the modern artists.
Sure.
Anytime anything comes out, I would like to listen to it, because I just love music so much. I want to feel that. I want to feel their music and get some inspiration from it.
I get that. So this is more of a question for me because old school hip hop is always something I'm trying to get into. Is there a quintessential 80s, 90s, early 2000s album that you would recommend that I check out right now?
Let's see. Trying to look on my
Yeah,
wall.
check the wall for reference, please.
Oh man, there's so many of them I
Something
want
I
to say right
probably
now.
haven't heard of.
Okay. Are you familiar with DJ Quik at all?
I am familiar with him, but I
Okay.
don't think that I could name an album, probably just more like isolated
I
singles.
feel like
But
I
he
feel like
seems more
this
like an album artist.
right. I really do feel like this album right here, The Quick is the Name, would be the one.
Okay. Okay.
Just because I really did fall in love with that album. I waited like 5 months for that vinyl record to come in. Like,
Oh,
that's how
seriously?
deeply in
Damn.
love I am with that album. So
Hmm.
I would definitely check that one out. I think
Okay.
he does have the instrumental ones, a couple of the tracks on there as well.
All
So
right. I got some musical homework. Thank you. It's the
right.
best kind of homework.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right. Last question for you here. For the first time listener that is going to discover your music from this, what message would you like to pass off to them?
I'd like to say, don't be scared over the love stuff. I feel like that is not um 100% me. I think that was just the story I was going for in that one. Like I said, I don't want to be put in a box. I'm very versatile. I feel like I love the craft. I love to write. um Definitely take a deeper listen to my lyrics, because I do put a lot of subliminals in there. I would like to say I like to put in different metaphors and different variations of words. I just like to bend the words in my favor. So that's what I like to do as an artist. I really do take the time to think and process what I'm going to write and what I'm going to and how I'm going to rap it. Um, so I feel don't shy away from the first album just being mostly about love. There are a lot more albums to come. So that's kind of the one thing I would like everybody to know.
Awesome. I think that's a fantastic message. Otherwise, though, man, I am really looking forward to whatever else you got coming out. Sounds like we'll get something hopefully by the end of the year. But again,
Yep.
no rush to you. Take your
Right.
time with it. For everyone else out there, FobMobJoJoo. Listen to Sucka for Love. It is fantastic. I'm assuming it's on all the normal streaming sites. You can find it, and we'll also have it linked in the article as well.
Yep.
Sweet. Joe,
All
thank you
right.
so much for taking your time. Thanks for making this work. And I hope that we can speak soon.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for having me, man. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
man.
it.
Anytime. Take care and have a great rest of your day.
You too, brother.
See ya.
See ya.